Okay, think back for a second. Maybe a loose tooth. Or that intense focus on who gets to be the line leader.
Oh, yeah.
Does that ring a bell from your own second grade, maybe? Or maybe you're seeing it right now with a 7 or 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Today, on the deep dive, we're really getting into that specific year, second grade.
That's right. We've been digging into this document, secondgrade.pdf, and honestly, it's kind of amazing how much crucial development is packed into this one year.
It's not just small steps in reading, is it?
No, not at all. It's really, the year their identity as a learner starts to take shape, for better or worse sometimes.
Right. So think of this as your fast track to understanding why this stage is so important. Whether you're a parent, an educator, or just, curious about how humans develop.
Yeah.
This deep dive should give you a much clearer view of those key changes happening right around ages 7 and 8.
And our goal really is just to pull out the most important stuff from the source material. We want to shine a light on those big transitions.
Like how learning habits start to stick.
Exactly. Those habits, and also how their grasp of the social and emotional world really, really deepens.
And the first big idea that jumped out at me from the PDF was this phrase, the year of growing bonership.
Yes, that captures it perfectly, doesn't it?
It really does. What does that mean in practical terms?
Well, the document points out that first grade is often about just, getting comfortable with school routines, acclimatizing.
Okay.
But second grade, that's when kids are expected to start, managing their own school experience more, taking some responsibility.
So less like passengers and more like co-pilots.
Yeah.
Or maybe junior navigators.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
They're not just showing up. They need to engage more actively. And you see it everywhere.
How so?
Foundational skills get stronger, more consolidated. Their emotional self-regulation becomes, hopefully, a bit more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And their relationships, both with their schoolwork and their friends, tend to get deeper, more complex.
Okay, let's talk cognitive changes then. The source mentions some pretty big leaps in their thinking, right?
Oh, definitely. A much stronger grasp of cause and effect, for one.
So if I do this, then that happens. That kind of logic.
Precisely. That understanding of consequences becomes much clearer. And that's, fundamental for later problem solving.
Which probably explains why they get so focused on fairness all of a sudden.
Exactly. The PDF notes they're starting to build these internal moral frameworks. Empathy, fairness, even a little bit of social justice awareness starts popping up.
Wow, that's pretty deep for 7 or 8.
It is. And it links to their growing ability to work on their own. The source suggests maybe a 20 to 30-minute attention span for focused tasks is typical.
Which, let's be honest, might not seem long to us adults.
Right.
But it's a significant step up for them.
A huge step. And here's something really interesting the PDF highlights. They start reflecting on their own performance.
How you mean?
Like, they might actually say things like, oh, I should have written more, or I got kind of confused here. That self-assessment piece.
That feels critical, like the beginning of thinking about how they think. Metacognition.
That's exactly it. Early metacognition. And it's tied to the beginnings of abstract thought, too.
Thinking beyond the here and now.
Yeah. Grasping concepts that aren't just right in front of them, that really opens up new ways of learning.
It must. And the PDF also talks about their worldview expanding, moving beyond just their family and classroom.
Yes, they start seeing themselves as part of, a bigger picture, a wider community, maybe the world.
That wider view must affect everything.
It does. And importantly, this is also when those crucial learning habits really start to lock in.
Okay, like what kind of habits?
Things like paying attention in a group setting, developing a work ethic, sticking with something even when it gets tough.
Persisting, yeah.
Knowing when and how to ask for help is another big one. And basic organization, keeping track of their stuff, following multi-step directions.
These sound like skills for life, not just second grade. Foundational for efficient learning down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which leads to a great practical tip from the PDF for parents or caregivers.
Oh, yeah.
Just asking simple questions that nudge them towards independence. Like, okay, what's your plan for this? Or, how could you fix that? Or even, what do you need to be successful right now?
Those are great prompts, not just for homework, but for lots of situations, I bet. Fostering that agency.
Exactly. Now, the document also touches on some potential gender-related differences. It's really careful to frame these as observations, not hard rules.
Good disclaimer. What sorts of things does it mention?
Well, for instance, it suggests boys might sometimes struggle a bit more with sitting still or maintaining focus for long periods.
Okay.
whereas girls might show more self-motivation, particularly with reading or writing tasks. Again, these are just potential tendencies.
And what about confidence?
The PDF notes that sometimes boys might mask insecurity, maybe with joking around, while girls might be more likely to internalize stress or really push for perfection.
Interesting. And play styles.
Yeah, slight differences there too, potentially. Boys, perhaps, gravitating more towards active, maybe competitive games. Girls may be focusing more on storytelling or navigating social rules within their play.
And disagreements, how they handle conflict.
Boys might be more direct, while girls might use more relational approaches, maybe more indirect communication sometimes.
Right.
But the PDF also gives a warning here about new pressures emerging around gender norms, things like performance anxiety or feeling boxed into certain expectations, or even social exclusion based on those norms.
That's definitely something to be aware of. Okay, so moving into academics. The source lists the core subjects: reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and SEL, social emotional learning.
A full plate.
For sure. But it seems to dive deeper into reading and writing specifically.
Yes, because there are some really key shifts happening there. With reading, the big change isn't just sounding out words anymore.
It's about understanding them.
Exactly. The PDF poses this great question. By second grade, many kids can read, but can they understand, analyze, and summarize? That's the hurdle.
I can see that. You might have kids who read aloud beautifully,
Right.
but if you ask them what happened, they can't really tell you. Or they only get the most surface-level meaning.
Or they struggle with stamina for longer books. Those are common issues mentioned.
So what helps? What tools does the PDF suggest?
Some really nice practical ones, like retelling games. Okay, tell me what happened at the beginning, the middle, the end.
Right.
That pushes them to sequence and summarize.
Makes sense.
Or using things like character thought bubbles.
Yeah.
What do you think she's thinking right now?
Uh-huh.
That encourages inference, getting beyond the literal text.
Thinking between the lines.
Exactly. And even simple journaling. What did this story make you think of, or how did it make you feel? That connects the reading to their own experience. For anyone interested in how learning works, these are concrete ways to build that deeper comprehension.
Those are great, very usable ideas. The PDF also mentions things like encouraging healthy risk-taking, like trying slightly harder books.
Yes, getting them comfortable with a little bit of challenge, and also supporting their self-regulation while reading.
Like suggesting they pause, take a breath if they get frustrated.
Exactly. Or even just naming the feeling, are you feeling stuck? And there's a social angle, too. Asking things like, how do you think that character's choice made their friend feel?
Connecting story emotions to real life.
It all weaves together. And interestingly, the source suggests that even though they might have fewer visible tantrums than younger kids, their internal emotional reactions might actually be getting stronger. They're just perhaps learning to manage the outward expression more.
That's really insightful. Okay, what about writing? The PDF calls it a heavy cognitive load.
It really is. Think about everything they're juggling. Spelling, grammar rules, finding the right vocabulary, being creative, and the physical act of handwriting, the fine motor skills.
Wow, yeah. When you list it like that.
It's a lot. And the source lists some telltale signs of writing fatigue or frustration.
Like what? Avoiding it altogether.
That's a big one. Or getting really upset if you point out spelling mistakes. Or just writing the absolute bare minimum needed. Many parents and teachers will recognize those signs.
Oh, definitely. So how can we support them without adding to the pressure?
Some good strategies are suggested. Maybe letting them dictate their ideas sometimes so the mechanics don't hold back the thoughts.
Like using a voice recorder or just writing it down for them?
Exactly. Or letting them type if handwriting is a major struggle. And crucially, praising the effort and the clarity of their ideas, not just focusing on perfect spelling and grammar, especially early on.
Build that confidence first. Makes sense.
You want them to see writing as communication, not just a test they can fail.
Okay, so shifting gears a little. Social and emotional growth. This feels like a huge area at this age.
It absolutely is. The PDF highlights how much more complex their emotional landscape becomes.
Like what kinds of new feelings emerge?
Things like real shame or pride tied to what they do or achieve. Yeah. Awareness of peer pressure, fitting in. That tricky conflict between being fair to everyone versus being loyal to your specific friends, and starting to feel responsible for how the whole group behaves.
That's a lot for them to navigate.
It is, and this is a critical time for their self-esteem. The PDF makes a really powerful point. Kids this age start internalizing labels, not just from others, but from themselves.
Oh, wow. Like what?
The examples given are things like, I'm just bad at math, or nobody ever wants to play my game, or everyone else finishes way faster than me. Those internal beliefs start to harden.
That's tough. How can adults help counter that?
The PDF suggests reframing is key, saying things like, you're learning it. Everyone learns at their own speed. Normalizing the struggle, and also helping them build what's called emotional granularity, a richer vocabulary for their feelings. Instead of just, I'm mad, maybe asking, are you feeling frustrated, or maybe tired? Or is it more embarrassed?
Giving them more specific words, that actually seems useful for anyone, really, understanding those nuances.
It really is. And their friendships changed a lot, too, in second grade, don't they?
Yeah, the source says they move beyond just playing with whoever's nearby.
Right. Friendships become more about shared interests, identity, loyalty. That's when you really see those intense best friend dynamics start.
Ah, yes, the best friend drama. What does the PDF say about handling that?
It has a great what to watch for what to teach section. For the best friend ups and downs, the advice is to teach flexibility. Friendships can change, and that's okay.
Good lesson. What else?
When you see kids being excluded, help the excluded child find ways to speak up or find other things to do. Teach skills for joining in, too.
Okay.
For the classic "he copied me" complaint, it's a chance to talk about inspiration versus imitation.
Ah, nuance difference.
Exactly. And for early teasing, the focus is on teaching kids to be assertive, stand up for themselves, but without being aggressive back.
So they're learning these complex social rules.
They are. And the PDF points out that while they can start to understand the difference between someone's intention and the actual impact of their actions, they still really need adults to model how to handle these situations and talk them through it. They don't just figure it out alone.
That makes sense. Modeling is key. The document also mentions invisible stress loads. What does that refer to?
It's talking about new pressures that come with second grade, things like timed math drills, more formal tests and assessments, maybe being grouped by academic level.
Oh, right. Stuff that wasn't really there in kindergarten or first grade.
Exactly. And even just navigating the social pecking order that starts to emerge more clearly. These things can create stress that isn't always obvious.
How might that stress show up?
The PDF suggests kids might mask it, maybe by acting silly or clowning around or by zoning out.
Or the opposite, like becoming hyper-focused on getting everything perfect.
Yes, perfectionism can be a sign. Or sometimes it comes out physically, more complaints of headaches or stomach aches, especially on school days.
So what helps manage that stress?
Practical things, helping them develop positive self-talk, like a mantra. I don't have to know this yet. That fosters a growth mindset.
I like that. Yet.
Using visual tools, maybe a chart, to track effort or progress, not just the final score. And simple open-ended questions like, what was the hardest part of your day today? And then just listening.
Just being heard can make a difference. Okay, briefly, what about homework and projects? What's typical?
The general guideline seems to be about 20-30 minutes a night. Usually includes some reading, maybe some math practice or a little writing.
And projects?
Might be things like a short research report, maybe about an animal or making a poster, simple models, that kind of thing.
And the advice for parents supporting this?
It really echoes that ownership theme. Let them organize their supplies. Check in, offer help if they're stuck, but try not to hover or do it for them.
Right. Coach, not co-pilot.
Exactly. And praise the planning and the perseverance, not just whether the poster looks perfect.
Okay, that makes sense. What about general support at home outside of homework?
Some great actionable tips in the PDF. Build in some transition time after school, let them decompress before jumping into chores or homework.
Good idea.
Visual schedules can still be helpful for some kids at this age. And letting them make small choices, what snack to have, which chore to do first, builds that sense of agency.
And academically, at home?
Keep reading together. Even if they can read alone, reading slightly more complex chapter books aloud together is fantastic. Pause and ask questions. Why do you think he did that? What might happen next?
Keep that comprehension muscle working.
Exactly. Make math practice fun games, real-life examples, and encourage drawing or journaling as ways to process thoughts and feelings.
Nice. The PDF also had a section on what to introduce this year, right? New skills.
Yes, really valuable. Things like basic time management using timers, simple planners, introducing reflection, maybe simple journal prompts, or using an emotion wheel.
Build a self-awareness.
Right. Give them small, real responsibilities or chores. And starting basic digital literacy, respectful online behavior, maybe screen time limits, even playful intro to typing or simple coding games.
So many concrete things we can introduce. What about extracurriculars?
The PDF highlights the benefits, building mastery in an area, learning teamwork, practicing resilience when things don't go perfectly.
Good life skills.
Definitely. The key advice is to choose activities that focus on effort, participation, and belonging, not just on winning or being the best.
That seems healthier at this age. Now the tough part. Red flags. What should parents or teachers be watching out for?
The PDS lists several clear ones. A persistent, strong refusal to read, or really avoiding writing tasks, could signal something like dyslexia, or maybe low confidence.
Okay.
Frequently saying negative things like I'm stupid or I can't do this, that might point to anxiety or perfectionism.
Well,
A noticeable increase in wanting to avoid school or frequent unexplained illnesses. They could be social anxiety, academic frustration, maybe peer conflicts.
right.
Continuing to reverse letters or numbers consistently past the middle of second grade might warrant screening. And a real lack of interest in play or imaginative expression could signal emotional distress.
Are there more subtle signs too?
Yes, the PDF includes those too. Things like apologizing excessively, which might indicate shame or anxiety.
Interesting.
Being very rigid about routines could point to anxiety or maybe sensory sensitivities. Regularly not participating in class could be low confidence, perfectionism, or feeling misunderstood.
We're always playing a specific role.
Right. Always being the class helper or the class clown can sometimes be a way of masking social anxiety or other difficulties. It's good to look beyond the surface.
That's a really helpful list. So bringing it all together, what's the core mindset for caregivers, according to the source?
It comes back to that shift. Be the coach, not the co-pilot. Meaning, allow for safe mistakes. Encourage them to try figuring things out themselves first. Offer quiet support and reassurance, but resist the urge to jump in and fix everything immediately.
Let them do the work.
That's the core message in the PDF. Let them do the work. Your job is to create space and scaffolding. Support, but don't take over that growing ownership.
That's a powerful way to put it. And the reflection prompts at the end really drive that home for parents, don't they?
They do, encouraging us to think about, do I praise their effort more than the outcome? How do I react when they make mistakes?
Do I give them chances to try and fail safely?
Am I teaching kindness and resilience alongside academics? Am I giving them space? Am I focusing on who they are, not just what they produce? Even asking about the importance of rest.
Those are great questions for any parent or educator to consider.
Absolutely. It's all about nurturing that independent, capable, and emotionally aware person who's emerging in second grade.
Okay, so if we boil this down, key takeaways from this deep dive into second grade based on secondgrade.pdf, what stands out?
Well, first, just recognizing that huge shift towards independence, the growing ownership. It changes how they approach school and learning.
Right, that's fundamental.
Second, the critical leap in reading from just decoding words to truly understanding them and knowing there are practical ways to support that comprehension. And third, I'd say being really mindful of how their self-esteem is developing and solidifying during this year. That internal voice they're forming is so important.
Those are really crucial points. So as a final thought for our listeners to chew on, building on all this, maybe something to consider is how deeply these habits and self-perceptions formed in second grade around effort, learning, social interaction. How much do they continue to echo throughout our lives?
That's a fascinating question. How much of our adult approach to challenges, to learning, even to relationships, has roots way back in these early elementary years?
Definitely makes you think.
It really does.
Yeah.
Second grade is a surprisingly pivotal year.